With the approach of July 4th, many people in Boston will be looking for ways to get out and celebrate. To tell us about some of the attractions in this year's Harborfest is an account manager from Conventures, Taylor Jacobs. Thank you very much for being with us, Taylor. I know you've been doing this for about now, at least Conventures and Harborfest has been going on for 37 years, but this is what, the biggest in the country?
Yes, Conventures has been taking on the last 3 years, but for 37 years, Harborfest started as a way to promote Boston tourism companies during a month where tourism and residents are outside the home and just checking out the city, really emphasizing the tourism companies that promote history and patriotism.
Of course, for people who live in the city all the time, we take these things for granted, and maybe to the point where we don't even check them out. Let's talk about going to the USS Constitution, for example. If you've got a kid who hasn't done this before, what's that like?
It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's the oldest ship in the country. It withstood cannonballs that were fired from the British Navy. And the fact that it's out of dry dock is another reason, especially this year, to check it out because they will be doing cruises.
Of course, what's also important to get across here is that you've got a huge list of events, and a lot of them are free?
No. So we, as Harborfest has done for 37 years, we have promoted tourism agencies and companies in Boston. Some of them do have free events, but what Conventures has tried to do in recent years is offer free programming such as Chowderfest, a pre-fireworks show concert, and Arts at Harborfest. And the city will be offering a parade that will commemorate fallen patriots that helped make this country what it is today.
And where's that parade going to be taking place?
It will it'll end at the old State House. It will swing by the Granary Burial Ground, where they will lay wreaths for those patriots. And there will be a flag raising. And I'm sorry, it will start at City Hall Plaza. Now,
another event that you mentioned that has been around for a while, and that's the Chowderfest. It used to be at City Hall Plaza. It's going to be in a different location this year. And anything else different you want to tell us about it?
For this year for Chowderfest, we have moved the location to Christopher Columbus Park, which we did have it last year, same location, but we have increased the restaurants by a great deal from 4 to 11. And like last year, it'll be sunny under the nice leafy, breezy canopy of Christopher Columbus Park.
Now, I have to admit, I grew up in Boston having clam chowder out of a can, and it always tasted the same. I didn't like it that much, actually. But what's this chowder like? Because you got all these different restaurants with recipes, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'd like to think that in recent years, restaurants have been really getting creative with recipes. You know, whether it's going with spicy or maybe, heaven forbid, Manhattan chowder. But just trying different cuisines, and at the very least, tourists from California will get a nice sample from 11 different restaurants, and they'll probably be pretty impressed with our local recipe.
Speaking of people from California and elsewhere, how important are these days for visitors, the visitor economy in Boston?
I would say it's very important, especially in recent years where it hasn't been a priority. You know, we've obviously focused on more on building infrastructure, and tourism has seemed to have gone the wayside. And especially for a city that's really needs to be on in the summertime, I think that Boston Harborfest really contributes to tourism in Boston, and it can't be underestimated that we make this work for all of our partners.
This has been news, and we're talking about Harborfest with Taylor Jacobs from Conventures. People think of 4th of July as fireworks time, and you're going to do it a little earlier. Is it tomorrow night, actually, right?
Yeah, we do like to stick to certain Saturdays and Sundays for Boston Harborfest, and it just happened to fall on June 30th to July 1st. Friends of Christopher Columbus Park, Central Wharf, Wharf District Council, and Boston Harbor now have contributed and made the fireworks possible. We didn't have them last year, and they stepped up, they fundraised, And now, thanks to them, we have fireworks.
Now, we should point out, you're going to see these fireworks from Columbus Park, of course, but there are other places where you should get some good views, maybe Fan Pier or East Boston.
Anywhere on the Harbor Walk would be a great location, and East Boston as well.
Talk about the atmosphere of these events, because, you know, if you go out, let's say, tomorrow night for fireworks, yes, you can go to Columbus Park, but, I mean, you're there near the Greenway, you got the rest of the Harbor Walk. I mean, what's that like?
Well, especially with the weather, the atmosphere is going to be great. It's going to be warm. There's going to be bustling with people from all over the place. And, you know, with the right music and the right with the right weather, the event's just going to be really carefree, really warm.
Now, of course, another feature of Harborfest is that people have dozens of ways to get acquainted with the history here. There's too much for me. It's a real overload, but you've got all these historic sites they can go to. You've got the Freedom Trail tours, you know, even something interesting at the African American History Museum, too.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to addressing to the history of Boston. The meeting house sort of plays up to our more African American cultural side. The Colonial Fest that sort of shows how colonials lived in Boston. You know, even the more well-known cruises and rides, such as like Boston Duck Tours. I mean, just all of those tours contribute to immersing tourism and residents into Boston culture and Boston history during a month that is really important to our country. And
I should mention, there's an arts component here, maybe more than one arts component. You've got an event at Columbus Park also, right? With that on July 1st, I think?
So actually, the same time, at the same location during Chowderfest is Arts at Harborfest. And local artisans will be selling goods and showing off their work in the middle of Chowderfest. And while that's happening, local artists will also be performing on stage during Chowderfest.
Yeah, in fact, talk about the music component here, because you get something in the day and something at night, so we should let people know about that as well.
Oh, certainly, yes. On Saturday night, we have a pre-show concert, starting off with the Squeezebox Stompers, starting at 5 p.m. The Squeezebox Stompers, they're more of a Zydeco bluegrass band, just great American roots music. And then following them is Sweet Harmony from Riverside Theater Works out in Hyde Park. They will be performing patriotic show tunes.
And I know you got a website. The name is easy to get, so just tell people what that is with the rest of the details.
Yes, that is bostonharborfest.com. That can the brochure is printable, and the website is the best to use, as the information, if it may change, the updates will be there. But if you need a brochure, feel free to visit any Freedom Trail location. The Boston Marriott Long Wharf will be activated in the Christopher Columbus Park, handing out brochures as well.
All right, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Taylor Jacobs from Conventures, and we'll have more news in just a moment.